Hello Sea Wolves, and welcome back to the show. It's day 3 of the Transatjacquesvabre. Most of the fleet unfortunately still grounded because of the impending storm, and boy is that going to be a doozy. But we have some cool updates on Jean Le Cam, Cluck's new boat that I want to talk about. I think you're going to be very interested in that. And of course we have some updates from the Ultime fleet, which are battling kind of a trough in the weather, so not much wind for them. And the weather window I talked about yesterday is actually looking more and more likely like that might actually happen. So that and more in the show today. But before we get started, of course, I hope that you, just like me, have some fresh deliciousness in your cup over there. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ah. That just hits the spot like nothing else, right? So let's start with a little weather update, because so I talked about, of course, this possible weather window that I saw yesterday, and actually confirmed with some of my friends in the fleet what kind of the lay of the land is right now. And I can confirm that there is some talks within the various classes to have the start maybe on Monday. So let's just dive here into the overview so you can see kind of what we're looking at. So this is the situation right now. So if we fast forward to kind of tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow morning, you can see that yeah, well, the both. So I'm here in Amsterdam. This is of course where the race is kind of happening, and well, this storm is going to be so strong and so severe that even in my country, I just this morning, you know, tied my boat up with lots of extra lines, because we're going to see something like 110 mile wind gusts. Here in France is going to be up to, I think, 130, 140 miles per hour gusts on the coast. So this is really a very severe storm. So in all the marinas, they're really preparing for it. They're expecting several rivers to to be raising the water levels a lot, in a few places even up to like 2 or 3 meters. So this is no small event. It's really a big storm. And well, as this is going to move, so kind of like tomorrow evening, so then the real heart is going to hit, and then we see this extra, or you know, we kind of see the next storm here developing and coming in. Now that is going to take about a day and a half extra to get there. So when we fast forward to Sunday, then we see that this is kind of going to again straight hit the Bay of Biscay. So again, no option there. But then after Sunday, we see like, okay, still, you know, pretty strong weather, strong winds, you know, 20, maybe 30 knots, so still severe weather, but a lot less, you know, full-on hurricane storm as we had before. Sea states will come down a little bit. Then on Monday, still a bit of weather from this kind of higher, from the system that's a bit more higher situated, but that seems now in the prediction to have gone down a little bit in severity. And then as we sort of go by Monday, end of the day, going into Tuesday, then we see, you know, some much more calmer weather develop. And yeah, basically, so if we go over to Wednesday, Thursday, even some areas, as you can see here, with, you know, almost no wind, so that'll be hard to get out of there, you know, in kind of a no wind situation actually there. So for my mind right now, so Friday also still good. So yeah, like I said, for my mind, it looks like Monday, so that's kind of this situation at this moment, still severe weather. So it's going to be by no means an easy start, but for my mind, if they start Monday, maybe in the end of the day, second part of the day, on Monday, we might have a start option there. And I know that this is also something that within the race they're talking about. So fingers crossed, let's hope it happens. Yeah, we'll have to see, I guess. That kind of brings us to the Ultime class, the race that is still going on. So if we take a look at the tracker, we can see that pretty much the whole fleet has made it to kind of the area of Porto Santo. Like the fleet very close together, like I already said yesterday, like it's going to probably compress. Of course, sideways they're a little bit out of each other, but they're all kind of, you know, battling this same trough where there's just almost no wind. I would say that how it looks now, maybe actually the second group, so Sodibu and Actual 3 might be in a slightly better position now. Like they're also both doing a bit more speed, and just kind of how they're situated, I'd say they might actually, you know, if this goes on for a bit longer, they might actually come out of this ahead, because it seems that the rest of the fleet is kind of right in the center of the really very wind quiet area. So who knows, may have been a slight tactical error in where they kind of chose their path, but of course might also turn out to be a great choice later. But how it looks now, we see that the speed of both Sodibu 3 and Actual Ultime 3 about 14-15 knots, while the rest is doing about 7. So, you know, if you do that for a few hours, that's a massive difference. Now, if we look at what the weather's actually going to do, so let's move here to where we are now. And so we're talking about kind of this area here, where they are right now. And if we move a little bit ahead, we see that, yeah, the right part of that storm actually pulling on first. Well, let me zoom here actually, because that's kind of interesting. So yeah, I think actually we might see the two boats that were before actually lagging behind a bit pull forward, because you know, take this picture, you know, kind of save it in your mind, and if we then go into the situation here, we can see that the first group, so kind of the leading group right now, very close to Madeira, very close to the islands, while the other group is kind of much more to the east. Now if you go over to the weather map, so kind of, you know, take that idea, so, you know, roughly speaking, let's say one group is about here, the other group is about here. And if we then fast forward the weather, we can see that, you know, although you know, the weather is definitely improving a bit for both groups, it definitely looks better to the west, and around the island it definitely looks not so great. And if we move on, we see again that, yeah, we have this kind of area right to the east of the islands that is a little bit more of a low wind zone because of the direction that the wind is coming from. So they're kind of forced to go through an area where they're kind of shielded from the wind because they're kind of on the wrong side of the island, while the rest of the group is more in open water, so they're not going to be bothered so much by the presence of the islands. And yeah, look at this. So you know, you have kind of a clear path for one group, which would be here, which is like pretty nice wind, let's say, where for the other group looks considerably less good. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see either a role reversal, so we see the second group coming out ahead after this, you know, or at least taking the lead for a while after this, or that at least they're going to close the gap a lot, and we're going to see them both coming out of this much closer than they were when they went in. So interesting development on the weather there. Then a class 40 update. So I heard today from another class 40 skipper that the crash between, I think it was Corium and November, so Quito de Pavance boat, was actually a lot worse than we actually saw on video, because I think we all saw the crash right after that first buoy at the start of the race, where Corium basically sort of seemed to be hitting the back of the of November. But as I hear it now, actually that was a very very severe crash, maybe almost killing Kido because he was kind of standing on board. And actually Corium full on landed on top of the other boat, damaging the mainsail and breaking the boom. So November completely out of the race because of that, which is sad, of course, because they still were one of the kind of most experienced teams. And they're not the only boat that's severely damaged. We have Tequila, the British boat that had their ballast tank that exploded. They had a problem with that. And I think that it's Petra Luciani on hull 19 who had a problem with the hull. So they hit a UFO, I think, and they had a severe crack in the hull. So we have quite a bit of like some big damages, but also because of the just heavy weather, heavy sailing, a lot of small damages. So as I understand it, there is a lot of scrambling about to, despite the impending storm, also to work hard, and a lot of skippers are quite happy in a way for the few extra days to be able to fix a lot of small damages they got from sailing in the very strong weather there. So that's kind of the update for the Class 40. Several boats who are not going to make it to the start. Then kind of an update on the Vendée Globe 2024, which is the new boat of Jean Le Cam, because of course definitely being one of the show's favorite in the last Vendée Globe, of course rescuing Kevin Escoffier when his PRB sank in the Southern Ocean. Was a very emotional, very cool time in the middle of the pandemic and everything. I still remember like such a craziness with him going overboard, and yeah, just coming out as such a sort of old school hero stuff. And he has a new boat that actually splashed last week, and interesting, no foil. So I love a good person who doesn't go with who goes against the grain. And of course Jean has always been somebody who has been, well, I'm not going to say an advocate, but somebody who's always kind of ridiculed foils a little bit, and has always been saying like, no, foils are not a good idea, and you're always going to be hitting something, and no foils is the way to go. And so he kind of put his money literally, or at least his sponsor's money, where his mouth is, and came up with this new boat, which does have dagger boards, of course, but no foils. And it was interesting because they do, so it is with a scow bow. It is a fully modern boat, looks really cool, looks amazing. And interestingly, Chris, a fellow Class 40 skipper, made an interesting comment to me today. He said, yeah, that boat actually looks to me like just a very large Class 40 if you look at the design. And that's kind of true. I think that's actually a really great way to describe his new boat. And yeah, I can't wait to see how that's going to perform. Of course, they're not in this race, but yeah, really interesting to see what will happen, especially because of course the non-foiling boats, for those of you who are maybe like a bit more new to the sport, yeah, they have a bit better like upwind angle, right? So in let's say light to medium winds, they definitely have like, maybe a 3-4, in extreme situations maybe like a 5-degree better ability to sail upwind, which in a long race with plenty of upwind sailing in the start of the race especially, of course can give quite a big advantage. Especially in the last race we had Jean, we had Hugo Boss duking it out in the beginning in the upwind, very stormy start then, and we saw Jean also in the Southern Ocean duking it out, I think in 6th or 7th position with Boris, and we saw that his much older, much more simpler boat, let's say, was still just highly competitive, with the fact that Jean is of course also a really amazing sailor. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be very interested to see how his new ship is going to be faring amongst the fleet and how it's going to do in the next Vendée Globe. So if you're interested in that, check it out. They got a great video where it kind of like shows all the details. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll put a link in the description below. Definitely check it out because it's a very cool new looking boat, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing that in action. Then kind of final point of today, so the start, because it wasn't quite clear what they were going to do exactly, like how to do the start. Assuming that we will have a start Sunday evening, Monday, maybe Monday evening, maybe Tuesday morning, somewhere around that time. Most likely it will be one start. So they'll have a simultaneous start for all of the classes, and of course the Imocas will leave from Le Havre and the rest will leave from Lorient. So the Imocas will do a full race, but the class 50, sorry, the Ocean 50s and the class 40s will be starting together from Lorient, and they will add the times of the first and second races together. So it will be kind of like a time handicap system where they just add both times together, and that kind of decides the ultimate winner. That's so far what I've heard, the system that they're going to use for that. And yeah, so with not that much racing going on right now, that's it for the show today. Thank you again for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And see you again tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Ciao, ciao.